Hello, and welcome to our first theme for part two. What is forgiveness? And I'm going to start with a paragraph from the actual book. And I highly recommend you read when it comes to these themes, I highly recommend if you are called to it to read the page from the book as well, in addition to our summaries and our speaking on it, because there's when I mentioned in the introduction that words are just pointers and it's not actually about the words, it's the message behind them, it's what's in between the words. um there's obviously a message from what comes through us from our summaries, but there's also a message behind the actual words of A Course in Miracles. So I would recommend it. It's not a mandatory thing. That's why we do the summaries. That's why we break it down into a more digestible form of understanding with our speaking videos. But for these themes in particular, because we are absorbing, we are receiving, um, it could be beneficial to also review that at least once. Okay, so the what is forgiveness starts with this paragraph, which I think is really succinct. So I'll just read it. Forgiveness recognizes that you thought your brother or sister, um, that what you thought your brother or sister did to you has not actually occurred. It does not pardon sins and make them real. It sees that there was no sin. And in that view, all your sins are forgiven. What is sin except a false idea about God's son or daughter, God's child? Forgiveness merely sees its falsity and therefore lets it go. What then is free to take its place is now the will of God. And one of the important things about what is forgiveness and the meaning of that first sentence, about that first paragraph, is that we're not forgiveness is not about pretending that the body was never hurt, that the mind was never hurt, that the emotions were never hurt. It's about a deeper recognition, that's not the word, recognition, about a deeper recognition that those are not our true selves. What is our true selves can never be hurt. I can understand how when you're really absorbed in this false identification with the ego and with the body and the mind and the emotions, how it can feel a little bit like bypassing and a little bit like invalidating of about these experiences that may have occurred. And it's like, no, but like I felt the pain. There was real pain. There was real pain. There was real pain in the body. There was real pain in the mind. There was real pain in the heart. But this isn't about invalidating an experience. This isn't about invalidating a pain that was felt, or, you know, overlooking a real attack or excusing a wrong. It's about realizing that that is not who and what you truly are. You are not the body. You are not the thoughts. You are not the mind. You are not the emotions. And what you truly are cannot be touched, cannot be harmed, cannot be attacked, cannot be, etc., etc. So if you're truly holding on to these grudges, like, oh, well, that person hit me, that person broke my heart, that person, hurt me mentally, whatever, or this happened mentally, what it means is like, oh, because you're still believing it's real, that's bad. No, what it means is that you're still having false identification, right? You're still attached to the identification of the body being you, of your emotional waves being you, of the thoughts that pass through the mind being you. None of those things are you. None of those things are you. They're just waves that come and go. They're experiences across the screen, like movies that play across the screen. The screen is blank and white. and never changes. When you're sitting in a movie theater, that screen one moment can have Disney princesses dancing across it one moment, and then another movie plays and it's Jurassic Park or whatever. But the screen has never changed, right? The dinosaur running across the screen, creating havoc, never harmed the screen, never damaged the screen. And that's what forgiveness is about. That's what these lessons that we've previously practiced and what the lessons that we continue to practice are trying to show us, that you, who and what you truly are, which is what this is all about, your recognition of your true nature, recognition of your true self, capital S, cannot be touched, cannot be harmed. So forgiveness is the recognition that what you thought has been done to you did not occur because you are this whole eternal perfect being at your true nature. It's about the way that I see it, although don't take this literally, please. It's just a concept. The way that I see it is that is like moving out, zooming out, coming away from, like moving back from the body, the emotions, the mind. Forgiveness sees through the illusions, sees through the illusion of this false identification. It sees through this illusion of these ideas of good and bad, right and wrong, all these concepts, all these perceptions. Sometimes it's a little more like black and white, right? It's a little more like I said, like say somebody, I always use this example for some reason, but let's say you're just standing there and somebody comes with the shopping cart and rams you in the shin. Like, that's pretty obvious. Ow, that hurt. They probably shouldn't have done that, right? Like, that's a little more black and white. But then there's things where, it's a little more gray, where it's like that person spoke to me in a really rude tone. Did they really speak to you in a rude tone? Or was that your filter and perception based on your own stuff? Right? Or that person doesn't like me, but do they really not like you? Or are you just interpreting all these things, giving it your own meaning, and it's coming through your own filter based on your own insecurities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and your own stories? So, but regardless of whether it's more black and white or more gray, our job is to look at the judgments that we're holding, look at the unforgiving thoughts that we're holding, look on the meaning that we're giving things and drop it. And, it's really, to be honest with you, it's really none of our business why that person came up and rammed us with the cart in the middle of the grocery store, right? Ow, that hurt. I'm gonna walk away now because it's not a fun experience to be rammed in the in the shin with a shopping cart. But but then we don't but then our job is to not to continue to like hold on to it and hold judgment. What an asshole. What da 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 da. Oh my gosh, that person must be so damaged. That person has mental illness. That person, you see, those are judgment thoughts, those are attack thoughts. It's none of our business. Forgiveness is realizing that it's all like whatever stories, whatever perception, whatever happened that where that arose is based on illusionary, illusions. Let's say that person does have, I'm totally going on a tangent here, but let's say that person does have distorted thoughts, distorted feelings, etc., that cause them to do that. That's all part of their illusion. You see what I mean? So we get to see that it's all illusion and see that behind whatever illusion they're buying into, whatever illusion you're buying into, we're all love, we're all source, we're all God. Christ consciousness is about seeing through that veil and seeing Christ in everything and everyone. Forgiveness those looks past those type, errors, past things that we think that people have done wrong, et cetera, et cetera. And like I said, sees the light in others, and not most importantly, but also importantly, actually, yes, I'll say most importantly, sees it in yourself, because the truth is until you realize and see it in yourself, you're not going to be able to see it in others. You're going to be seeing the mirror of the illusion of fault or of sin or of whatever you've believed about yourself in others. So yeah, it is important to see it in yourself so you can see that mirrored in others, so you can see how that's the truth, not only in yourself, but in others. Forgiveness truly is not about, Sammy and I have already talked about this, how it's not about saying like what somebody else did is okay. It's about freeing yourself, but it's about undoing. It's about undoing, right? Because once the past has happened, it's now just a thought and a story. Sure, it can, that repeated thought and story, the memory can live in your emotional body and your physical body, etc., but it's still just a story that you're holding on to. So what forgiveness does is it undoes the story, right? So yeah, okay, we can't change the past, but in a way we can change the past in the sense that we can change how it affects us now. Because if we're not holding on to the story, if we're undoing the story the way that it's, because the only way that the past survives is through our stories that we're holding on to. And when we undo the story, we undo the past. So it undoes not just our current pain that we may be feeling or our current suffering that we may be feeling, but it undoes the past as well. Because the past only exists in the past only exists in the now as stories that are being held onto. So I think I covered everything in my notes here, but one last and important final thing is that obviously, well, I'm going to say this part, forgiveness is a gift to yourself. When you forgive, you are freeing yourself from the illusion of being attacked, harmed, or separated from God. But the thing that I wanted to say that's really important is that in the eyes of truth, in the eyes of God, in the eyes of Source, you are already forgiven. There is nothing you have to do to be forgiven. So we're talking about, us forgiveness to others, but what about forgiveness to ourselves? Well, I got to work on forgiving myself, or I got to earn forgiveness, especially when it comes to like, the way we've been taught religion through like Christianity. It's like you have to earn forgiveness, or like if you're Catholic, you have to confess, you have to right the wrongs you did or earn forgiveness from God or whatever. I don't know. But you don't, you are already forgiven. It's just about you seeing, you dropping the stories and seeing clearly you already are forgiven. I'm going to wrap this up by reading the last sentence, the last paragraph of the forgiveness theme. And it says, do nothing then, and let forgiveness show you what to do. Through God, Christ, who is your guide, your savior, your protector, strong in hope and certain of your ultimate success. He has forgiven you already. This is the part. He has forgiven you already. So God's source has forgiven you already. For such is his function given him by God. What it's talking about there, because remember, it's using biblical language, it's using the language of Christ. What it's saying is that Christ, the Son of God, Jesus, has forgiven you already because that is his function given him by God. And now it's your job to be Christ, to be like Jesus and share that function and forgive others, because God and Christ, again, don't take this so literally, it's just using the language, biblical language. Because your sinlessness is already seen. Your job is to carry forward that function and also see that sinlessness in everyone else. See that not only have you already been forgiven, everyone else has been forgiven. And your job is to carry that function forward to everyone else and see everyone else is already forgiven by dropping your own judgments, by dropping your own stories, by dropping your own grievances as well. So I think that's it for me for the theme. Sammy?
Thank you. There's something here that it says on my screen, and I could literally just say this and finish because you covered it so well. But it's like forgiveness isn't a one-time fix. It's a daily release of the false stories you carry. And it says here, so I'm just trying to do two things at once here because I'm literally just like, this is so raw and real for me right now. You'll notice sometimes that you can get fully immersed into stories. Like I just spoke to Karina before I came on, and today has been one of those days. I've been really immersed in the stories and I've been pulling myself out, and then I'll be pulled back in. And we get days like that, and that's okay, right? But it's forgiving ourselves when we have those days. And I needed to hear this lesson today. I've been giving myself compassion and love for the version of me that was, because remember, the version of you that has created these narratives was done out of survival, was done out of protection, you know, was done out of because of what other people told you. And so we can have compassion for her. But then what I hadn't done, which is so incredible that we're doing this lesson today or this topic today, is I hadn't forgiven myself for buying into that story, buying into that narrative, right? Because until you forgive, the past stays real, right? Until you forgive, you're going to keep falling back into it. No matter how, for me, forgiveness is the thing. And we spoke about this before, me and Karina, forgiveness is the thing that has really transformed our lives. And so, yes, we can have self-love and compassion for that version of ourselves, but also we need to find forgiveness for believing in those stories, for believing those lies. And I think that's the tether that I've missed today. And maybe it's likely that it's the same for you, because self-love now and compassion comes easy for me because I'm aware of it. And I see, I feel sad for the Sammy, but then again, I know that's a story. But then that's still me buying into a story. Whereas forgiveness is you letting go, right? Sometimes when we give self-love, compassion, and yeah, just self-love and compassion, we stay again too long in it. We don't let it go. We wallow there. We're like, oh well, I certainly have been. Whereas forgiveness is, you're like, I let it go. There's nothing to hold on to anymore, and I choose differently, right? It's like an invitation to step away, fully away from it. It's like, it's like when we break up with a partner, we can keep being pulled back, pulled back, pulled back, because there's that love, deep underneath. There is that love. There is that, the open loop in our mind, the desire to want to fix things, right? The desire to, want to have proof that you are lovable. But forgiveness breaks that. It really does. I can honestly say, with every situation that I believe I've been attached to, forgiveness is the thing that has set me free. It really has, for whatever reason I cannot explain, but it's a thing that works. And so, yeah, just reminding ourselves on the daily, right? Like I said, I've been programmed to learn to love those parts of myself, but what I must now learn to do continuously is to forgive myself for holding on for too long, or for whatever that forgiveness looks like in the time, right? Um, so yeah, this one was just so timely for me. So I'm happy that we're having this today, because as I always say, like, I know that what I'm feeling, I can be assured that other people are feeling it, right? So as always, divine timing that these things are unfolding in the way that they are. And yeah, it's just a constant I want to say journey. It is a journey though, isn't it? It's a constant journey. It just doesn't stop. You don't just get to the destination, because even when you're at the destination, you you hear old narratives and old stories come out. Like The Matrix talks about it. I watched The Matrix at the weekend, and it talks about the old programs, right? The old programs, um, when you try to exile the old program and get rid of it, it like comes back bigger and stronger and meaner. Like, right? They say new level, new devil. Whereas that, if you clear it with forgiveness, it's making peace with it. right? You're transmuting that. Whereas sometimes I think other things that we do bury it, not set it free. So for me, is forgiveness is opening up the cage that I put myself in and letting it be free, letting her be free. I know I went on a few tangents there, but I was being very multidimensional there. I was like here, there, and everywhere. Everything comes through as it's meant to, but that's it from me.
I love that point you made about the matrix and the programs because we've talked before about the difference between like bypassing our feelings and like trying to like get rid of like negative feelings and negative stories versus like and you hit the nail on the head there. It's the difference between like trying to exile them and forgiving them. That's exactly it. That was like I want to make it simple. We forgive. We just say, "Okay, I see you're here." And it's that blossoming of forgiveness that actually dissolves it instead of trying to like exile them, which just makes it come back stronger the next time because you're bearing it. Just in the word Sammy used, that really sums up a lot of what we've been talking about that hasn't been put that clearly before Sammy used that example. So that brings that full circle, which I love. There's a couple more things I want to add before we wrap up what forgiveness is. And don't worry, we'll put a little summary of what is forgiveness for you guys to review for every lesson. So you don't have to watch this video unless you really want to, which we love and we encourage. Um, Forgiveness is healing. I wanted to make sure I put this, although I do think we did touch on this a little bit. True forgiveness heals because it realizes re realizes, sure, we can say that, realizes that no one is separate and no one is guilty. Attack is never justified because again, it was never real. It's because remember, there's illusion, all the stories that are happening in the virtual reality game, and then there's truth. Saying attack was never real is about realizing that everything that real is the truth, the true nature, the truth of love, that ever-present sun, and everything that's just part of the story are the clouds. Again, the screen in the movie is the perfect analogy for this because again, all the light being projected on the movie screen isn't real. It's just light being projected on a movie screen. The dinosaurs running across the movie screen are not real, although they seem real in the moment when you're there eating your popcorn, going, oh my God, hi, what are you doing? Right? But then the movie ends and you realize it's not real and it's just a blank white screen. That's what it's saying. So forgiveness is realizing, oh, the dinosaur wasn't real, although it was very scary in the moment. I feel like there was another thing I wanted to say, but it's gone now. So we'll end it here and we'll see you for the lesson.